Hello, it's me, Weekly Talks, again. And today we're going to be talking about the beginning of the end. So, as you can see, this upload will probably be later, uh, something like a week and a half. Um, Something that I wanted to set for this channel is that at the end of every month, the last upload will be at the very end of the day. So, in a sense, you can expect weekly uploads from this channel. Uh, just the end of the month, I may skip few days because I'm very busy myself. I have my own life, and this is a priority, but it's not my first priority. This channel is more as a self-reflection, and my availability would be every week or as this scenario and probably at the end of every month, between 3-4 days later max. But I'll still make sure that I upload two videos a week, one after the other. And yeah, let's get to the topic. So this is the end of this month, and we know that that was, new beginnings. And for new beginnings, how can we not talk about today's topic, which is the beginning of the end? And this is something that can frustrate a lot of people. It will scare other people because, the end to something, very often we would connect that with the thematic of death, of something passing away. And I think that there is a beauty in that topic of us as humans only having certain experience in life, and that experience being one of a kind, so we cannot relive it. And I think that's beautiful because it gives meaning. Like, once you do something, that's it. That's the end. And I think that the mentality of knowing that beginning the end of a process is probably the most important one because, of course, it's important to begin something as the thematic of this month, but it's really important to know that to end properly anything in life, you need to know certain things. You know, first, how do you feel about it? Do you feel accomplished inside of yourself within? Do you feel like the need to do more, or are you okay with letting it go, right? Stuff like that, it's different for everybody. So, there isn't an exact rule, but that part of self-reflection, that's really important. That helps us as people, as humans, to know when is it good to end a particular thing. Sometimes it happens by itself, and sometimes we just decide that we don't want to do something anymore, right? Maybe a video game, a hobby, education, even, life is just so much more, and we just want to experience more. And in order to experience more, we need to be with the mindset that we're gonna need to end more stuff in our life. The rest at the end of the day, nothing's endless. Nothing, goes on forever. And depending on each person's belief, it may be the soul that actually lives forever, right? But that's more of a personal belief system, and everybody's responsible for their own system. And here on the channel, I'm just here to explore and share my own opinions. So, as I always say, take what you want and feel free to comment down your own opinion. I'm more than happy to read anything. And also, thank you for your time. As a viewer, I appreciate that because I know, day to day life, how busy everybody can be, and just, sitting here with me in my honest talk about a certain topic, it's like means a lot. So let's continue about the topic, you know, of I'll take a metaphor. Um, the metaphor will be probably again something with a tree because you can just create so many meaningful metaphors with trees, but you know, there are four seasons, starting with spring, summer, fall, and ending in winter, right? And we already talked on the channel about spring, about summer, so the beginning, the continuation of the beginning, and now the beginning of the end would be fall. That's practically where we stand right now, and I think it's really important because fall is a beautiful season, depending where you live, of course, but usually that's when all the trees start shedding their leaves. Everything becomes brown, yellowish gold, because practically the leaves of the trees die, right? So they fall down and they, in a sense, recycle for the next spring where the trees give birth to new, you know, new fruits, new leaves. And that's really important because that's the natural flow of life. That's a thing where we see it in nature and then it transfers in us as humans, as people. And that's really important because, maybe you've said something for the year and something happens, right? You're like, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym. You go every month or whatever. Then you continue. Now it's 1, even 2 years, and then at the third year something hits, you maybe say, I want to do something more with my life, right? And I'm not saying by any means that the gym is doing something less or it's not important. On the contrary, right? It's looking after yourself, your own health. But maybe you decided, now I want to have a new hobby, and you want to replace it somehow, right? And you need to be okay with letting that motivation, specifically for the gym going, that also habits, just letting it go. Because once you start something and you commit to it, you attach yourself to it. And that's the concept of today, practically letting go that attachment. Because every person has a different attachment style that's psychologically proven. There are four attachment styles, starting from secure to avoidant um to what was it, avoidant. Then it comes like kind of like anxious, cautious, and finally borderline. This channel isn't really about talking like such concepts and stuff, but just to introduce you briefly, secure, it's not about a person being secure and that's him or her. It's rather the way we deal with everyday problems. So when there is a problem, what would you do? Because life chucks anything every day as problems, things to do, right? So if there is a problem, a secure person, instead of freaking out or just going away, would stand in front of the problem and figure it out. Well, that, what would that mean? Just look at from all perspectives and see, okay, how can I solve this? Do I have the ability to do so, right? Stuff like that. And then you know the person finds the answer and then just does it. Avoidant means somebody who just within themselves doesn't feel comfortable, so they just, in a sense, run away. They just walk away from the problem and don't deal with it. Then there is an anxious type. That's the person who starts thinking, overthinking before there is actually a problem, and they create an imaginary secondary problem for them. And then borderline, that's a little bit more hard to explain, but borderline uh, type of person would be somebody that, in a sense, there is a problem, but they don't acknowledge it as a problem, and instead they create a wholly and other problem that's 10 times worse. And it would sound a little bit like anxious, but it's not, because the anxious person would still have a perception of the actual problem, while the borderline wouldn't even like process it in the first place. So these are the types, and that doesn't mean you're a person is less, or it's just differences, different people, different way we deal with stuff. Of course, if we allow ourselves too much to, let's say, a certain degree of avoidant or anxious, that can create problems. But that doesn't mean it's a problem on itself, right? At the end of the day, at least I am here to work on myself, including working on this channel, and I hope everybody who views this is with a similar or even the same mindset. um you know, doesn't matter what you are, as I said, it matters how you deal with the problems. And that's not a thing that, oh, like one day, oh, I'm gonna do that. That's, you know, you build it slowly. You begin, as we already talked, you know, if you track the channel, you begin it and then you build up. So practically, now let's talk about the attachment itself. You know, you've attached yourself to that hobby, or whatever it may be, and now you want to start something new. So in a sense, to replace it, but not exactly, right? But you just feel within yourself you need to end it, you know. Maybe end the show, you know. That's a thing that hits all of us, you know. When a show ends and we loved it, it hurts, right? We feel empty. And that's in a sense also attachment. We attach ourselves to the seasons, to the episodes, to the time we spend, and then the show ends, and what happens is we just feel empty. Or, you know, it can be different for everybody, but that's because when we attach ourselves, we have, that's a problem within uh, the human, us as a human being, where we attach ourselves and we put our own value in the thing we attached ourselves. That's why, and I'll talk next month, will be with about the topic of relationships, where, you know, in a relationship, because of that attachment, we value ourselves depending on our partner, which means if our partner would feel bad or good, that's how we would think about ourselves, which isn't true, right? Because we're separate, we're our own individual, and as one, we need to know our own value that we seek within ourselves and work on. So this is, you know, part of today's topic, attachments. We should know that no matter how we may feel, that's not how who we are and what we are. So knowing, in a sense, beforehand, okay, before I started who I was, that's in a sense part of who you are. And then if that habit helped you, like the gym or something else, and you found even further deep validation within, you see also the process, you know, that's acceptance and appreciation of yourself, committing to something, doing the work and growing. And that's really important for a person. And yeah, that's the most important points. uh, as a conclusion, I would just say, uh, don't forget to appreciate yourself, love yourself, and be kind to yourself, because anything in life can, you know, hurt. Anything in life ends, and, you know, we're just humans, we just leave it. We leave it through, right? And it's really important to know that while we go through this, even if we feel alone sometimes, we always have ourselves, and that's more than anybody thinks. That's enough, you know. Because, you know, you knowing that you have yourself, that's a superpower. And everybody's different, that's true, but as everybody's different, there is somebody for everybody. You know. And that's something that, once understood, really holds power, you know. So just as I already have a video about that, believe in yourself, that's really important. And maybe you let go of the attachment much easier, you know, whenever that happens for anybody. So yeah, um that would be the topic for today. Again, thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for, you know, just spending time, you know, listening. If you comment down for your thoughts, you know, sharing in the comments. And yeah, if you like what they do, make sure to like, to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.